Hey, welcome back to God's Glory and Men's Real Stories. I am your host, Robert Moore III, and I'm excited that you would join us today for another great episode. So if you're new to this community, I want you to know that you matter here and your story matters, no matter what chapter you're in. So today, I want you to sit back with a community that cares about you in hopes that you feel God's love as well as see God's glory in men's real stories. So my special guest today is a brother that I have traveled with, I've partied with in seasons, I've grown with in other seasons, I've fallen out with him, and then we've reconnected within this season of our life to realize that God was working on both of us to bring us back together with stories of his grace in our lives. So I'm happy to welcome my brother, Shareif Alvarez, to the episode.
Yeah.
You like that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm happy you're here, man. This is truly a treat because, I normally get to sit down with people that I am still looking or getting to know. Where in this episode, I get to sit with a person who we've known each other for a while. We've seen different versions of ourselves and learning each other through, some of the ups and downs of getting to know a person. It's almost like having a relationship. And a lot of people know that in a relationship, you're going to see a person in different lights sometimes. But in that, it's how that relationship plays out when the light that you're seeing a person in may not align maybe with your light, or you may be like, whoa, okay, like, hold up. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
We didn't never discuss this. This was an area that we never actually, I just assumed that we saw things the same way or whatever the case may be. But it's created a relationship where now I can look back and be like, wow, God, you were up to something that whole time, even to like the conversation we had when we got back together for lunch that time, when we first kind of like reached back out and we kind of got out of our own way to be like, you know what, it's been long enough.
Stubbornness.
Stubbornness. That's really what it was about. Stubbornness.
Yeah.
So
I think the beautiful thing about that is, the connection we had where we both were baptized on the same day. So, that's, it's so funny. And it's not like we didn't, people can make that stuff up, right? But we had the photos that was the connection. We're like, oh, same day.
Wait a minute. Like matter of fact, you told me I got baptized.
Same
I'm like,
church,
that's
different
crazy.
Locations.
I got baptized too. And you were like, oh yeah, I got baptized. I'm like, wait.
So God did have a plan to reconnect us, right? So I think that's important. So
that's awesome. So I'm gonna let you start off by introducing yourself. Tell my listeners a little bit about yourself, who you are.
Yeah. So Shareif Alvarez, I'm a great man. I start off with that.
True.
Who's experienced a lot of challenges in life, and I've grown through being vulnerable. Everyone faces adversity, but originally from Jersey City, New Jersey.
Yep.
Grew up in a house with 7 women. My father was in and out of jail, not really in my life much, but if anyone says women can't develop men, I disagree with that.
Okay.
I believe, they have the power to do it. Anyone does. So the man I am today is because of that.
Right.
I have a beautiful fiance, just got engaged last December, which is amazing. Actually you're a groomsman in our wedding. So I'm happy for you to be there. Have 3 beautiful children. So I have a 2-year-old with my ex-wife. And then, I don't look at them like stepchildren. They are my sons. So I have Grayson and Austin, who is my fiance's oldest kids. So
right. Beautiful blended family.
Yeah. Unique situation.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
We can get into it.
To this day. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Like it taught me some things, but no, it's beautiful. That's awesome. Well, as I tell people with these episodes, man, it's like water, man. It's like, where do we start? What do you want to talk about today? Like, what do you feel on your heart? You want to, take this conversation in what direction? Just because I feel like so much has happened in the time that, from the time we met to the times we're in now, where we're looking at life like, I would have never, there's no way you would have told me that the same Shareif I met back when we met at that lunch table during a work lunch would be the same guy who's like now leading a beautiful blended family.
Thank you.
In some waters that I'm just like, wait a minute. Wait.
Rewind.
Hey, okay. Whoa. Really? Like everybody? Like everybody? Like, and okay, so let me set the stage a little bit.
Yeah.
Recently, and I try to stay away from the news, but there was an article about how Russell Wilson.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Right? Yeah. Russell Wilson and Sierra have created a beautiful blended family. Yeah. And sometimes it's not always beautiful on the outside as it is on the inside. Meaning there are other parents who may not agree. They may even have words to say, and sometimes those words may get on vinyl. And so a lot of times what you may have created may not glitch well for everybody. Everybody might not see the full picture, understand the importance of, your son is my son. And I love him or I love her just as much as you do.
Yeah.
And so in that, I'm going to make sure that I'm not just saying that, but I'm living that out.
Yeah.
So what has that been like for you? And what was that transition like when it came to realizing like, wow, I just went from having one to having three sons?
Yeah. It's definitely a humbling experience. And I don't, I think it takes, I would say the transitional stage of how I got here, I think I had to be open-minded. And when I say open-minded, it's like, there's a stereotype around, don't want to date anyone that has kids. And it's like, cool, I was that guy, right? So I can't say that, right? Like I'm staying away from them. They have kids, right? But, it takes, women with children, right? Whether single moms or, married. That's a powerful thing, right? God has blessed them. It takes a lot to carry someone for 9 months and develop them and be there. And I think, I think I've hindered myself in the past for not opening up that talent pool. So, for me to be able to do that this time around, I had to do some self-reflection and say, hey, Shareif, you got a kid. You have your Amayas, blessing from God. How can you say you're not going to date someone with kids when you have one, so you're technically part of that statistic now.
Right.
So for me, it was just more like open-minded. And, when we got into this, we didn't know what to expect from it. I just bounced back from, my situation. My son was, not even a year. Right. So it was definitely a difficult transitional stage. But, I think it happened organically. And I think integrating the kids in, we were very careful how we integrated the kids in early. It was like, hey, let's make sure you and I are on the same page first.
Right.
Let's prioritize that. And, the outsiders, whether, my amazing ex-wife, her, the father of her child, like they probably have reservations because they're like, what is this? This is new. So, I think she helped me, develop my mindset around like, I got to be very open-minded to a blended family. If I love her, I have to love what she loves, and vice versa. Like she knows that my first son is everything to me. So, I think that was the cool part about it. And, watching her be an amazing mother and has left me very open-minded to say, all right, cool. I can accept, being around the dad.
Right.
And, the funny thing about this is that, if you, and when I tell my friends this, and we've spoken about this multiple times, they're like, wait, tell me, you play basketball with him? You tell that man you love him? Like you have him over the house? You like, yeah, like, it's like, I never thought I would, Shareif Alvarez would have ever thought that he would be in a predicament like this.
Right. Which makes it so beautiful because it was, I think it hit me when I was at your son's birthday. And you were introducing me to people, and there was, I'm sitting there and I'm looking at her sons, your sons, and I'm like, and I'm looking at the guy that's standing over top of him. I'm like, that's crazy. That kind of like, I said something about his haircut, and I was like, yeah, you should. And he's like, well, yeah, his dad that cuts his hair. And I'm like, yeah, okay, wow. This whole time I thought this was your boy, and it was your boy. Yeah. But I never would have known like That's their dad. And this is all one big family. And there's a love here where everybody respects and loves each other and understands that this is bigger than us.
Yeah.
That we literally have a table of leaders here who we are all investing in. We're all here to support. And it just like, it had me sitting there kind of like almost like processing like, man, I could do better. Like I could do better. Like this is beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I've learned from you. I mean, I think, full transparency, you've paved the way. I mean, you and I have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's like, and we're brothers. Blood doesn't make us any different.
That's true.
But I've always seen you be that great dad, and I think that's helped me, be a great father to Amaya. It's like, I remember we would go to the parks. Right?
Yes.
With the kids, and I didn't even have a kid at the time. I'm just, quality time hanging out with you and then being around your family. I think that also helped shift the mindset to say like, okay, this is an amazing thing. This is how you prioritize your family.
Right.
And like just seeing that, not letting a lot of my friends have done that, right?
Right.
I still got a lot of friends that are still scumbags, right?
Right.
They're not there, they're still in that trying to identify or still want to live that life, right?
Right.
But
we're just separate from their kids.
You've only paved that wave early, based off what I've experienced, and I think that has helped me. So thank you.
Yeah,
for that,
no, definitely. And you know what? You're right. It is one thing to be a parent. I appreciate that acknowledgement, but it's another thing to be a parent who loves the circle that your child is surrounded by. Like to love all the pieces. I love you, and I love your mother.
Yeah.
I love you and I love your father, not because of whatever our relationship may be like now, but because they love you.
Yeah.
And because I know they're going to pour into you the same way I'm pouring into you. So I love every piece that's connected to you. And that's something that's not, I mean, clearly we look out here and the people who are kind of grooming us to understand how this is supposed to look aren't doing the greatest job sometimes. So we're kind of like looking to understand how this is to be done. And I tell people, the people who in my eyes are doing it right, not that they want a reality show, but they need one.
Yeah.
So people can see like, this is how it's done.
Yeah.
Like I know, and yeah, it may catch you off guard in the beginning. Like, man, I ain't ever doing that. But as you watch longer, you're like, yo, this is beautiful. Yeah. Like, this is how it's supposed to be done. And more importantly, it shows me a level of God's love for us, because he doesn't love us just because he made us. He doesn't love us. He doesn't stop loving us because we make mistakes or because we don't align with his views. He loves us regardless. So it shows me a level of like, wow, like this is crazy. These two men who could both fight because of how they were at one time a part of this woman's life, they got love for each other. Not just love for each other. Yeah. They express their love as brothers to each other. They show up and play ball together. Yeah. And what it does is it allows their sons to sit back and be like, yeah, this is what's normal. This is how it's supposed to be. Yeah. And even if things don't work out, it doesn't change how I view this person. I want this level of relationship with this person. Yeah. So it's the reality shows we don't have that we need to see, like to say, that's it's
the aha moment.
Yeah.
And it wasn't easy. He was definitely not receptive at first, right? Based off of the old perception of what Shareif was.
Right.
We can always talk about that, but ideally, I definitely faced my adversity. I've made my mistakes. And, that reputation carries itself. So I think the cool thing about it was that, he didn't know me. He just knew what people would say about, my experiences with women and et cetera. And I think, so of course he wasn't receptive to it. You have the mother of your two children and you're like, I think I know this guy. And it's just like, no, you don't know me. Right.
Right.
You heard some things, but you weren't with me throughout this journey of my transformation, right?
Right.
And I made a promise to God when my son was born that I was going to live a righteous path, meaning like be committed to doing that. And fortunately, it didn't work with my ex-wife. Refer to her always as that, but we're in different places. Like ideally, living in two different cities, right? We weren't compatible in some areas. We were together 12 years, right? So had a long distance relationship for 12, I have to say probably 6 or 7 out of the 12. So I think it's very difficult. So I faced a lot of adversity there, but then I think, coming out of that, knowing I had a son, and I could have done things a lot better than I did with my ex-wife, but my objective is to make up for that with Janae, and my thing is to be a loyal husband to her, committed to her. That's why when we got baptized together, it was an amazing thing. Like, and it was something like I've never been baptized, right? I've been to Christian, Pentecostal, Catholic school, you name it, and it was just a great thing to say, hey, let's do this. Let's live a righteous path. And I'm like, let's do it. And we did it. The funniest thing I'll say is the last 2 weeks ago, we were in Fort Lauderdale for a basketball tournament for the oldest. We had the kid's dad, his girlfriend, their kid, his parents, who are, he's a pastor in New Jersey. And then we had Janae, my son Amias, and her mother. My mother couldn't make it, unfortunately. And I don't think my ex-wife is ready for that environment just yet. But it was when people are like, wait, all of you were in one household together? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, trust me, I was like, I didn't know, how this was going to work.
Right.
And like, when we left there was like, there could have been areas of improvement during that process, but it was an amazing thing. And I'm like, I put myself in these environments. Like, what do they say? Sometimes you have to put yourself in uncomfortable environments to become comfortable. And I think that's what we're doing right now. And we're still learning. There's sometimes I'm like, hey, look, let it just be us this time. Like, for full transparency, I just wanted to just be us, the 5 of us. Now we can integrate them here and there because there has to be boundaries, which we worked on that. But yeah, it's the blended family thing. I if you really care about someone, I would highly encourage it.
Right.
Just coming from me, like, it hasn't failed me. One, because I think we're, we have the right mindset around like, hey, we're going to make this work regardless. Like, there's adversity. I keep using the word adversity because, there's always going to be that. So I think it's how do you overcome that? How do you learn from that? And I think that's the place we're at as of today. So.
Yeah, no, that's good. And I truly have seen your growth. Like I tell people, as you said it, we step into uncomfortable situations not because we enjoy being uncomfortable. We step into them because we know there's growth in there. Yeah. And so the uncomfortable situations I've seen you step into that may even have me like uncomfortable when I first hear about it or see it, it's like, dude, the amount of growth that I see in him now because of this is unmatched. Like, this is like it's hard to put words to it. And so I'm sitting back there like, wow, I'm in my own uncomfortable situations, but this is different right here. Yeah. And a lot of that is because of the Shareif I've always known, which I
we can talk about
how much time I got. Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
I would love for you to share a little bit, because a large part of who you have been has also played in to the same story of who I've been and who our identity was based on, what the life we were living, that we just, you couldn't tell us anything. So share with my listeners a little bit about who Shareif has been, and so they can kind of get a gauge for the amount of growth, just on a personal level.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, college, it starts in the college.
It does, yeah.
It starts in college. Yeah. Maybe high school if I go back. But ideally, growing up in the house with a whole bunch of women, there's only a couple things I feel like they always educated me on how to like go about things with women. Not necessarily saying I handled it right all the time, but for me it was do well in school, play basketball, and love being around the ladies. I love trying to do the pretty boy thing, right? Go on, take care of myself, groove myself. And, it worked for me. And throughout time, like, going to college, I'm the first to go to college in my family and graduate. And, when you go to college, a lot of people can resonate. Like coming from Jersey City, right? You go into a college, right, in Virginia, and you see all of these women, and you're like, oh God, oh wow, what flavor? Like, and it's you become, it's like committing was it gluttony? Like, you just want more and more and more, and and for me it was, I met the mother of my child in college, and I did her a disservice because like I wasn't ready for her to be in a relationship, but I was in college, so it was like, doing this, doing that. Like the first year I was bought in, then pledged for frat. That always, it didn't define who I was, but it also enhances your environments to be like, oh God, this is a little extreme. And if everyone knows me, they called me Rico in college, and it was like, I had a lot of crazy stories. I used to fight a lot. I used to be, and I look back at that stuff. I'm like, who was this guy?
Yeah.
And, but life after college, I made a commitment to necessarily like my career. I was like, I'm career motivated. I knew what I wanted to do, and I moved to Charlotte, and my son's mother moved with me as well, and it just didn't work. Like Charlotte didn't align with what she needed. Right? She wanted to go to law school. We all know nothing to the Charlotte School of Law, but they don't exist as of today. So that program probably would have never been beneficial for her long term, and she decided to necessarily, like, I would come home and not see her happy. And it bothered me because I'm like, I'm trying to grind and focus on my career. Like, I got to get it. And I don't want to hinder you from doing that. So I had to push her away and say like, hey, it's probably not in your best interest to be here. Now that changed the whole dynamic of probably where me and her could have been, because she would never let the college things go. And even after college, when I was ready to say, look, I'm gonna be the man that you necessarily want me to be, hence is why we're taking this, I selfishly put my career first. And I'm like, I still to this day, I feel like financially my career has to sustain my family. So I have to make sure that's right. It's God, right? It's family, but your career has to be there in order to sustain, depending on what you do. So I necessarily, she went back, and it wasn't an easy thing. I prioritized myself for the first year. I gained a lot of weight working at the organization I did. All I thought about was money. I got a taste of that money. It was a deal breaker. The next year, I started figuring out like, God, I got to get in shape and do this. And that's probably where I met you that second time, that second year when we necessarily like got ingrained with, doing business together, which, was a great opportunity. And I was just in that stage where I'm like, man, let me meet people, let me mingle. I was on and off with her. Long distance relationships, I'm not saying they don't work, right? In my opinion, I think it's very challenging. Like, because you can be committed as much as you want, but like, it's very difficult when you're very active locally and you're meeting people, and like anytime someone presents itself, you're like, oh, this could be a possibility.
But you know what though? That's bold to say when it comes to like the fact that a lot of times we try to take ourselves out of the equation of like, I'll say it don't work, but like if I look at everything I was doing, it's like, no, it was not going to work. Yeah. Like I was a big part of the factor that it wouldn't work. Like I think they do, but I think that a lot of times we're not disciplined enough to do what's needed to shift how we date to a long-term relationship, almost like the way it should be done now, because I can't keep doing it. It's not like we can just Friday night, we're going on a date night. Like, no. Now I have to shift and change the directive of like, now that we're doing this long term, I have to change how we do dates. I have to change how we approach it, because I know all the people who have had long term relationships. They're like, well, why did ours work? And it's like, come on, like, dude, I'm surprised, honestly, that either one of us, like, let me say this. I'm not surprised that either one of our relationships stayed intact over that time. Yeah. Like a lot of people have realized or know that mine fell apart. Now I'm here, and you can say, yeah, long-term relationships don't work. Yeah, no, in-person relationships don't work with the way we were moving.
Yeah, that's true.
So like
that is so true. So let me rephrase that, because you said it the right way. So thank you. I was not disciplined enough at that point. I think she was, and I think so. So I can say I was the problem, and let me rephrase that, because I think if I had the mindset that I had as of today, and I was in that place, but that's the beauty of growth, right? Like,
yes,
you if we stayed the same, being perfect, or we knew everything, we would never learn. So it's like you got to learn from the challenges that in the roadblocks that present itself. So I think I wasn't disciplined, and I think I put my career first. I wasn't even prioritizing the women. I was putting my career first, and I think that's what helped me. But it was like one of my biggest problems when I would come home. I'd be like, I talk to people all day I'm like, I don't want to come on and talk to you like that. Like it's just very difficult. So I think that was, and she was always committed, and I'll never discredit her. She's an amazing woman, and and I tell Janae this all the time. Like, she's an amazing woman. Like, whoever it can be with her now, or whoever is with her. We're not at that stage yet to know if it's probably confidential or not. But they're getting a blessing. Like, she's amazing.
Right.
So I think for me, we moved to Miami, right? I tried to say, we moved to Miami, remember? So the journey that we moved.
Yeah, we moved. We did move to Miami. We shouldn't have did. We moved to Miami. He went, and I would follow from time to time.
We won't even get into the motorcycle situation.
We won't get into any of that. Let's just kind of like fast forward through that. But just know we moved to Miami.
We definitely did. So she moved. We were she didn't like it, in the line for her. So mistake I've made. I moved my mother and grandmother with me, which I took care of them for a long time. So for me, that's very difficult. You integrate a woman in the house with mother,
other women, right?
And it's just like, no matter what, your mother and grandmother are always you're always their baby. They're always gonna make sure you're good. So it's like it's a competition in a way. Like, and it's she wasn't competing, but it was very challenging for her to integrate stuff. Like, hey, how can I do my wife duties if you have other people doing them?
Right.
So I'm like, now I look back and I'm like, that's crazy. I lived with my mother.
Right.
Let me rephrase. I took care of my mother, my grandmother, and
all in the same house,
in a condo in Miami to start off. I'm like, that was a tough integration. That's what type of great woman she is, for her to accept that. So they left. They was like, Miami's not for us. The market is very challenging. Miami, love all my Miamians. Nothing to you all, but Miami's it's a tough lifestyle there, right? You either got to have it, get it, and if you don't, it's tough. So that. But she necessarily did not like it, and I proposed, and I was ready to propose. I had all her family coming into town, all this crazy stuff, and we had a lunch, and I was like, hey, you don't love your job. Money was never important to her. Money was always important to me. But for the first time, she was like, no, money is important to me now. And I'm like, all right, cool. Because she didn't have to work or anything at that point. And I'm like, so I showed her the ring. And I'm like, hey, like, I'm ready to do this. Like, but like, do you want to? And she was just like, I want to go back to DC. Like, I have the opportunity. So that's when Hot Boy,
like street. Like, wait, I feel rejected, kind of. Like, it was a sense of rejection there, and that, like, instead of choosing the life that I'm wanting to pave out for you, you're kind of more set on going back to DC for what you want out of life, and I look at my own life, and I look at like how you were describing how like we were out here running for money, and literally, there's no way to even hide the fact that we had made money our God. We ran to money, and because we knew it would run to us, we made it an idol of ours, and in a sense of speaking, it became before everything else. There's the money, then there's you. If I don't get the money, then there's no you. Like, so we made money our God in a manner of speaking, because what we've always seen, whether it be culturally, societal, money, without the money, there is no women, there is no family, there's nothing. Yeah. So we put that at the top of our pyramid, and everything else flows from it. And so because of that, and just as much as it was a God to us, it provided us a lifestyle and a lot of different things, especially in Miami, the opportunity to do some dumb stuff. Honestly, we were doing dumb stuff before we got to Miami. Yeah. We were doing it here in Charlotte.
We put it on steroids.
Yeah, it's very true. And so in a manner of speaking, worshiping that God, seeking that God, it gave us the benefits of what it provided, which was, in our case, trouble. We produced a lot of trouble. We were the common denominator in our relationships that continued to lack because of, happiness, fulfillment, living out our dreams, saying crazy stuff like YOLO and like whatever else we were telling ourselves to feel good about what we were doing. And at the end, it just kind of caused things to fall apart. But because those weren't even on the top of our ladder, we kind of just let it fall apart.
Very true. I mean, but I think to that point, I think she prioritized herself and made the decision what was in her best interest for the first time.
Yeah, but she chose her God. Yeah. And she was like, you know what? Mine is my career too, just as much as your career. I want to put my career. I love you, but my career now, it's almost like she was leading off of your steps. Yep. My career is up here than you. Okay, well then, why is it that you're up here and then my career? So at a certain point, she flipped those boxes as well, and said, I need to go and seek that as well. And so that put a wedge between the two of you, because now we both have she's tagging along, but now we both have our mission, our where we're going. I'm going after my career, you go after yours. And so you both basically drifted apart after what you guys wanted more than the other. And that's not a bad thing, because I think there's so many of us that do that. I think we say what's that we're incompatible. We fell apart. But like the truth is we didn't make each other. I'll speak for myself. I didn't make her a priority.
Yeah. Nah, and I agree with you on that.
Yeah. And like you said, they're not bad women. None of them have been. But our priority wasn't really them.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to say that. It is so much easier to say it's her fault. She moved away. She started acting funny. She rejected me. Like, have we forgot that part? Like, I had a whole ring. You should have seen that rock. Yeah. And she rejected that. And so in turn, what that tells us is a lot of what we've been experiencing in life, which is rejection and abandonment.
Yeah.
And so it adds to that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I mean, I think the biggest thing is, after that journey, Rob, is where, like, that experience, that's where I really found myself. That's, and that created the craziness for me, like, where I'm like, let me get back in. But I prioritized myself physically, mentally, and, like, I started learning things about myself during that time, because one, I sensed rejection probably for the first time. I'm like, oh God, like, this is what this feels like. And so, on top of that, but then you really lost someone you really loved, and you're like, all right. But I was doing it for the wrong reasons, right? I loved her, but I was doing it because I thought it showed stability for work, or it showed, sometimes in these sales environments, it's probably, people are probably going to laugh when they hear this, but they're probably like, it's true. Some, when you're in a leadership opportunity, or you want to, you're striving to be in leadership, sometimes it's like, you got to be stable, right? You got to show stability, because how can you lead others if you don't have stability? So it could be perceived that way.
Yeah.
And like, I saw it, like, working for an organization. It's like, they're like, oh, everyone that was a leader was married and like had kids, and I'm like, I'm not there. So I'm like, in order for me to sit at the big boy table, this is what I got to do. Ooh. And I'm like, I have the perfect person to do it, but I'm like, I'm expediting it just for that. And what I realize now, I don't believe that if that's how organizations are operating, which I'm not saying everyone is, then it's not the right organization for me, because your family and doesn't really dictate what you do necessarily at work, right? Like, it's right. Like, of course, if you got your family, that support system, you need someone. Like, now, every day, like, if I'm not on the same page with my fiance, it impacts my day, right? Because like I want to selfishly like make sure me or her are good. And we have this thing where like she'll kiss me every time I leave, or she'll say some positive. She'll be like, just remember, you the boss. Like you that guy. Like give me that,
giving you that affirmation, that encouragement.
Booster. And I'm like, that's what I love about her. And it's just like I need that. So when she doesn't say it, it's like it's weird. And like we have her and I have this thing. Like if I don't do something to her, like she's like. It throws her off, so it's like if I don't walk by or touch her or like that sense of touch, she's like, okay, what's going on? Like
it speaks to her in a manner of speaking. Almost like, honestly, it's like a sense of rejection when you don't walk by and touch her the way you normally touch her. She immediately takes that as like, okay, what's going on? Is everything all right?
Yeah.
Same with you. Like, hey, where's my cheerleader? Morning cheerleader. Like, where's that? And so we're seeking those things from that person to kind of like get us going. Mm-hmm. And without it, we kind of feel like we're lost without it, which is okay. Let's just say this. It's kind of scary because what happens if she's not available? What happens if she's not? What happens if she's playing full mommy mode? She's in two different directions, and she's like, a lot of times we're seeking the affirmation, the encouragement, and the validation from another person to get us going, to boost us up, and to really pour into us what sometimes I think we overlook that we can encourage us. So like I can look in the mirror and say, you're that guy today.
Yeah.
You're the man. You're going to make things happen today. And not because you're going to do it on your own, but because God's got your back. God is leading you. God has a plan for you. And so I'm going to be attentive to where he's taking me. But a lot of times instead of looking to him for that, it's easier to look to somebody who's right there in my face, who can do those things for me, who has been doing those things for me. And it feels a lot better. Let's be real. I mean, like, it's nothing like being told, "Hey, you're that guy," while she slaps you on the butt, like prepping you up, like you going into the game, because that's what it is. And never to downplay that, because we love those parts of being in a relationship. But there's those times where I realize that I'm not encouraged today because she wasn't in a good mood or she was sick.
Yeah.
And so now, because she wasn't, I'm just kind of like, it's a blah day.
It's so funny because it's like people make time for what they want to make time for. And, I think that, despite there's going to be so much stuff coming your way, you got to prioritize it. So it's like me walking by and not touching her butt, right? Like that's her thing. Like, it's like, okay, you didn't do that. Like, I know it's important to her. Just make time to go do that, right? And it's just like, come on, simple task, and vice versa. Like, she does that. And I think it's just, I think that's the important thing in a relationship, which I've learned is like, hey, you have to make time for and prioritize, your significant other. And, but reality is like my biggest pet peeve is when someone says, well, I don't have time. Well, if you planned your day better, you would. If you got up earlier, or there's going to be things that come your way, but for the ones you love, you make time for.
You know what? I've always heard that, and I've always agreed with that until I realized that I think that people saying they don't have time is not the real answer. I think that's what they're saying because that's the quickest thing that comes to mind. But I think that a lot of times people start falling off when it comes to like how they've poured because they're empty.
Okay.
Like
that's a different mindset.
Just a different perspective here. In that, like, you want me to pour into your glass of like doing the things you need me to do, but I look in there and I realize I ain't got nothing else to pour, and I'm trying to pour, but like I'm empty. So it's easier to say. So it looks like I didn't have time because I've run off, but instead the truth is that I'm empty, and I never told you that I was running empty. And I'm looking to you to fill my glass, but we both got like a little ounce, and we trying to pour it back and forth between each other's cup. But we got an ounce. Yeah, we trying to maintain on an ounce, but yet we haven't gone to refill. And that refilling is not always what we do with our significant other or in the relationships we're in. The refilling may look like, I need to go to the gym. I need to go and get my nails done. I need to go and meditate. I need to go and do some things that will fill me back up. I need to do some things for me that you can't do for me that will allow me to be able to come back and be in the green instead of like in the red, because we're empty a lot of times. And like you said, I want to come and like slap you in the butt, but I'm just not feeling it today. And it's like you said, well, yeah, just make time. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna make time, but it's not the time. It's the energy. Yeah. It's the feeling I'm having right now. I don't feel like doing that. Why is that? And it's because I'm on empty. Yeah. And I've been looking for you to fill me up when the truth of the matter is you can't really fill me up. And so I'm in a season now where I'm looking to God to say, God, I need you to fill me up because I'm on empty and I don't know why I feel this way. I don't know what I'm lacking. Maybe I should spend more time with you. Maybe I should read my word. Maybe I should spend some intimate time with you the same way I make time for her. Why haven't I made any time for you? Because I've learned that when I make time for him, I come back recharged. Now I'm ready to go. It's not just the time. I got the time and the energy. My cup is on full. Matter of fact, it's about to overflow. So let me pour into your cup while my cup is being filled up. And so I feel ready to take on whatever it is now. And I didn't need you to keep pouring into my cup, because there may come a time where she's poured into your cup so much that she's just like, I don't feel like making dinner tonight or any of this stuff. I'm just depleted. And it's like, those are the times when it's like, okay, I need you to go and fill up. Yeah. I need you to take some time and go fill up, because it's not that you don't have the time, or it's not that you don't love me. I'm not going to take this as rejection, because that's what we do sometimes. Whoa, what do you mean you don't? But it's not this, they're rejecting us. It's just they're empty. And as people say, well, I thought I was here to make you happy. No, I'm here to support you. The happiness that you're looking for is inside. You gotta go and you gotta go and get that. Yeah.
Tap into that.
Yeah.
Your inner self, you know?
Yeah. And joy is probably at the top of that ladder, because when you experience joy, we could be beefing and I'm still experiencing joy. We could be like, we still haven't come back from the last time I wasn't like encouraging him, but I'm still experiencing joy. To where I know we're not good, but we're going to be. Yeah. This is not perfect. It's never going to be, but we'll be fine. Yeah. And I think that's how we allow these relationships that we are continuing to want to build. We are making it a priority. As I tell Amber all the time, you're behind. God comes first, because with him, I can do all things. With him, I can be the husband you want me to be. With him, I can be the father I'm supposed to be. With him, I can be the employee, the manager that you want me to be. But without him, I'm just running on the fumes that you guys give me. If y'all run out, then I'm out too. We all out? All right. Well, here we go. But it refuels us to be who he wants us to be, not who we want to be, because we've been who we wanted to be. I believe we both have come back together because there was a point where we had to surrender who we had been to be who he wanted us to be. Yeah. Because who we had been, it was ugly, man. We were like, it was ugly. And I think there was a certain point where both, even me and you, we kind of like, we went off different paths. Like we were on different missions, and like the missions just, they didn't intersect. They kind of went off this way. It was like we were running after two different things, which happens. But it was beautiful how when we came back together, it was just like, I didn't know what to expect. Yeah. We sat down and I was just like, all right, I don't know I know where I'm at now, but I don't know who I'm about to encounter. But regardless, I love him anyway. Yeah. I appreciate it. Because I'm walking in love now, and I love this guy regardless where he's at in life. But then for it to be like, oh, wait a minute. Whoa, you did what? You on what path right now? Yeah. Wait, God has you where? Bro, first of all, God, like when did this happen in your life? Like when did, and so it was just beautiful how I was like, yeah, I just came out of the wilderness too. And me and God have had we've had a long run. We've had a year and a half of just sitting with each other to understand my identity outside of what my identity had been, what we knew ourselves to be, playboys, whatever. We was out here running, but it was like that was never my identity. That was who I was pretending to be.
It's exhausting too, right?
What?
Like when you think about it, it's like, it's what I'm gonna go back to one thing you said that was very important. Is that, when people go their separate paths, friends, brothers, you start to realize and dissect why, right? And you can come up with so many reasons, but what I realized and what I'm still realizing is that I missed you, right? As a friend, I would call you, we talk, right? Like I know I can rely on you, vice versa, and sometimes when you let your ego get in the way of that, like there's some people that probably I didn't need in my life that I still kept around, which is like, nah, this is toxic. I don't need this type of people around. But it's important to identify, and I would say this for everyone, it's important to identify who's essential to you. And from a friendship and when I look at that now, it's like there's people who I thought were essential to me, but they wanted to be around me for the wrong reasons. If you want to be around me so we can have a good time and party and just sit there and benefit from it and things of that sort, that's what I told. I'm surrounding myself around positive energy, people that I know have me in their best interest and I have them in their best interest, but also people that want to do these great things. The stuff I am trying to replicate what you did, right? When you were taking the kids to the park, right? Before I was taller than most of them, right? So, take them to the park and do all these cool things. And it's that's what we're doing now. It's basketball, it's Disney, it's we're integrating the family. I'm flying back and forth from DC to see my son, go pick my son up, bring him back, and make sure that every time I pick him up, that I'm making it very memorable, right? Mm-hmm. Because of the time. And, his mother and I are in a great place now, a good place. But, I think that's the biggest thing is when we came back to each other organically, we realized damn, man, we really miss each other. And we probably needed that.
Yeah, we wasted a lot of time, but that brotherhood was vital to our growth. It was important to I tell people all the time, man, the one piece that men are missing is a brotherhood that's based on, a lot of, in my personal opinion, it's putting Christ at the center of that, but then it's all of us growing and holding each other accountable for our actions, being able to stop and say, bro, listen to me. That's not the direction we should go in. It's not my direction. And I know where that's going to lead you. I know where it led me, but it's holding each other accountable to who we want to be, even if it's not who we are right now. I want to grow out of this. Cool. Let's do it together then. Because I'm on the same path. A lot of times I won't admit that I'm struggling with that because nobody else will. So it's saying, I feel you.
I'll tell you this funny thing. And when we went to Miami the last time when we were on, the boat, yacht, having a great time, we look at probably that crew that we were with. When you factor in the people that was with us, that we all stayed together, and you factor where those other people are, not saying that they're not, but I see the growth in the people that, the Ken, the Larrys, right?
Mm-hmm,
myself, the growth. It starts with God, right? It starts with a lifestyle change, something that hindered him. Ken Middleton doesn't drink anymore. He just wrote a book called Bamboozled. It's on Amazon.
Great book.
Yeah. So Larry, doesn't really drink like that. You see the maturity. Like myself, I'm a social drinker. Can't give up the cigars, but that's something I enjoy. That slows down time for me to evaluate what I need to do.
Right. It's your recharge time.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that just shows you the level of relationship we have, but then the growth that we all have created. And there's some people that just stay in that same world. And I'm no longer friends with those people, and there's nothing to them, but it's just I realize that, it's important to have good people around you that's going to help impact you, help develop you, care about you. And and it's just you do have to, and I'll say this to anyone, you do have to revamp that list time to time to say listen, man, you can't let too many people in your circle. So the people that you do have in your circle, it's like you can't lose them. And I think that we look at our relationship. We took what I call it a short sabbatical, but when we reconnected, we couldn't even tell. And it made us stronger. And we were, and I can tell we were so excited to talk to each other again because we're like texting each other right after, like, damn, brother, I really missed you, man. Let's link up. Let's be here because it's like we've made so much progress, and it started with God. I think we invested in our relationship with God more, and I think most people. They get there, they're not there. They're like, yeah, I pray to God every day, but like, are you believing? And that's the biggest piece. And I'm not gonna sit here and make it seem like I'm an expert when it comes to that, but like I've always believed in God, but I had to put my faith in God's hands to say, hey, help shift me and guide me in a positive direction to make better changes that's gonna equate to something long term, where I'm gonna have something to sustain from a family wise, because that's what I wanted. I wanted a family, right? When you see your son being born, which you have multiple kids, you're like, I'm not calling you Nick Cannon or anything. I'm just saying, but I'm just saying that it ideally, seeing a woman giving birth to a child is the most beautiful thing in the world. So when I saw my son, I'm like, oh, I got this. This is it. Like,
Flip the switch.
This is it. And it didn't work not because of the son thing, because we were in different just places.
Right. But it didn't change your love and that drive that all of a sudden flipped on in you when you saw him birth and you realized it's not just me anymore. Yeah. Like I got an extra person in this group now. So now as a father, as somebody who this guy has to look up to, I got to make some lifestyle changes.
You got to lead by example. It's like you can say it, but you're like, no, this is my number one priority. And it's like, making that change. One of the hardest things with me doing a co-parenting situation, it's like, that's an ugly thing, right? And, when you go from sleeping with your son every day to not, it's very difficult. And, we went through custody battle and all that stuff. And it wasn't a great thing. But like at the end of the day, we did not know how to communicate with each other. So, when I made that transition, what sustained me and balanced me during that adversity was meeting the love of my life, Janae. And I think that, was the cool piece about it because, she's a lot different than what I've interacted with. And it was like, not saying that one is better than the other, but in her mindset, like she gave me what I needed there, the support structure. Like when I missed the first Father's Day with my son because I couldn't get him, which that was tough for me. She was there for me, and try to create that experience. And, I think that's what it's all about. When someone, there's a lot of people that want to be with people for the wrong reasons. I want to be with this person because she has money, he has money, she looks good. Like, we even took the best time we've ever had successfully in our relationship which defined, hey, I really want to be with you, is when she cut social media off. Because I think social media.
Here we go.
Yeah. How much time we got? I'll sum it up, but social media creates a persona that necessarily like, hey, I want what other people have, or
comparison thing.
And I think that if you eat steak every day, you don't need to advertise it, right?
Right.
It's like, so, that's the one thing I said there is like, hey, I don't want to display our relationship to the world or to anyone.
Right.
Like, I like what we do to be within us, because you can't remake memories. And it's like, I guess you want to capture. Now, she's a photographer. She loves that. So but it
didn't have to be shared with the world.
It had to be shared with the world. And I'm very discreet. I've never had social media. Had MySpace. I didn't have MySpace. I had AIM.
MySpace
with the sidekicks.
Whoa, not with the runner, not with the. Hold on, we dialing up. Yeah. Like, whoa, you threw it back.
So that's AIM was the only thing I had. So it's like, and LinkedIn is the closest thing to that. So it's like, realistically.
By the way, if you want to reach out to Shareif, it's Shareif.Alvarez@AOL.com.
Good luck. But I think that was the cool thing. And it's like we gave up that, we made that sacrifice together. And the day she turned it back on, she left it up to me. And she said, I will do this because I love you so much that I'm willing to show you that it's not a priority. We want to prioritize each other. And the day I proposed to her on New Year's Eve, I was just like, and I think that's what gave it away a little bit. I'm like, hey, like we're going to a really nice, winery. I think, hey, if you may want to capture this, go ahead and turn it on. She's like, turn it on. I'm like, what? Are you serious? Like, put it back on. And I'm like,
by the way, get your nails done.
Yeah, get your nails done. So that's what did it. And, adversity does bring challenges because, there's people who necessarily try to interfere based off social media, based off the persona you can create. So it's like, you got to be strong-willed when you have that. But I'm not going to get into that because I'm not against social media. It's just
no. You're right, and it's like they say, everything in moderation. It's like if you're trying to be them, if you're trying to live their lifestyle, if you're trying to showcase ours as if it's the epitome, make sure you capture the fights too. Can you capture when we're fighting, when we're beefing? Make sure people know that we're not always smiling like this. Make sure you capture. Hey, look, I'm making noodles and noodles. Make sure you capture that too. Don't have people thinking we eat steak every night because that's the only thing you ever take a picture of. Like, it's like, give people your full life, not just the picture perfect moments. Yeah. Because then we're all confused and we're like, I want to live that picture perfect moment. I want to have this beautiful family. But by the way, you don't see what it took to get there. You don't see what it took with the conversations you and your son's father had to have to grow that level of like love for each other. Yeah. People don't see that stuff. They just see the pictures. They see what the end product. Look at these guys. This is beautiful. Yeah. But it's a process to get there. It's a process to create that. And it's, at the end of the day, I think what you guys have created is beautiful. I think what you guys are doing in the growth that you continue to strive for as you guys grow closer to God and put him in the center of it, I think it's going to be exactly what he wants for you guys. I just, as I always tell people now, when it comes to a relationship, I'm like, make sure your number one relationship is with him. Because in making sure it's with him, he's the best wingman. He's the best when it comes to like making the changes where it's like, she's mad at me. Don't worry about it. Yeah. I got her. And it's like, do you? Yeah, I'm putting a bug in her ear for you. Wait, for real, God? I appreciate that. Like, yeah, because I couldn't say nothing. Yeah, don't stop worrying about it. Yeah, I got that now. And so it's so important to have him first in that relationship because he can even change a heart that has no desire. I have no desire to be with her. That was me. I have no desire to be with her. Yeah, I know you don't, but don't worry. Yeah. I'm going to change that. Yeah, I'm going to change that. So, I appreciate the time we had here today, man. By the way, these cameras are going to go off and we probably going to sit here for a little bit longer. Yeah. But like, that's just how it goes anyway, because this is my brother. We love to talk about things. But I appreciate you sitting down with me today. Normally I sit here and I say, hey man, is there anything you want to leave my listeners with? Do you want to, leave any last points or maybe even offer up your social? But we've already discussed that doesn't exist.
The one thing I would say is, I appreciate you having me because this is me being vulnerable because I really don't go on. I like being a ghost and that's just my lifestyle, how I operate. So, even me telling these stories, it's going to be, when I look back at it, it's going to be like, wow, like, it elevated me to do something that I'm necessarily not comfortable with. But, right. But I appreciate you putting me in that environment. So
I appreciate you. Yeah, man. Look, listen, bro. Not only do I, but my listeners appreciate your gift of vulnerability today because that's exactly what it is. It's a gift. It's something that you didn't have to buy. You didn't have to. How people say, man, look, we don't want anything, but you still decide you want to go out and pick up something because of that relationship you have with them. This is a gift of saying, I'm going to entrust you guys with this because I hope that it can create some growth and change in your life. And that's what I love how men will offer sometimes, even when it's like, I don't normally offer this. I don't have a social media where this is me being very vulnerable today. So I appreciate your vulnerability, bro. I appreciate the gift of vulnerability. I appreciate your time today, man, because I know how busy we are. And more importantly, man, I appreciate your friendship and your brotherhood, bro, because you have truly helped me grow. Not, I appreciate how you said, hey, look, I looked up to you as a father, but I look up to you now as a husband to be, as a trailblazer for like, wow, I thought I had blended families down, but like, bro, you helped me step it up a little bit to be like, okay, I need to walk in love a little bit more to my daughter's mom, my son's mom, showing up the way Christ showed up in my life, loving me through like, yeah, I ain't necessarily like all the stuff you did, but I still love you. Like, yeah. Wow, that's humbling. Okay. All right. Got it. Got to
be your brother's keeper, man.
Yeah, man. Most definitely. That's what it's all about. Well, hey, guys, I appreciate y'all's time. I appreciate his time. I appreciate you guys listening today. As always, come back for another great episode with the men that I have sitting down here, knowing that what you're going to receive from us is going to be truly from our heart. As I tell people, I'm a heart pourer, and I love when men pour from their heart to offer their vulnerability, so that you can, not only just realize, hey, look, I'm not alone in this, but like, wow, okay, I never knew that other men are struggling with this, and this is no longer, whether it's still a struggle, current struggle, or whatever. We can all kind of like lean on each other and look to each other to understand how this growth is supposed to look. So appreciate you guys' time. We'll talk to you again on another episode.
Take care, guys.
We appreciate you listening today and hope that if you enjoyed this episode, you'll like and subscribe and also listen to past episodes. We hope to bring you great future content as well. Please comment your thoughts on this episode as well as leave any prayer requests below so that this community can pray alongside you. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook at God's Glory and Israel Stories.
Brothers, we understand how the thoughts of even facing your own past and current story and the pain and hurt that come along with this is no easy task. But you're not alone, as you hear in these episodes. Nor has God forgotten you or left your side, as He's in it with you, fighting alongside you through the storms of life. He loves and has already forgiven you, no matter what you have done, and He wants a relationship with you. Your healing, freedom, and growth are important to God, and to us as well. Maybe you're considering giving up, or need someone to talk to. Here are a few resources that already exist that we hope can shine a light into that dark place you're in. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 1-800-273-8255. If you need support but are not in crisis, consider reaching out to a warm line with individuals who would love to talk with you. Speaking to someone on these calls is typically free and confidential and run by people who understand what it's like to struggle in life. Find a local number by going to warmline.org.